Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Potter, and I am your host for the Living the Dream Video Summit. I'm also the director of the Million Kisses Foundation, and I am a musician living fully in a gift economy model. I had a question that I wanted to ask 20 other presenters, so I brought them together because I feel like their divinity, their expertise, their tools will really help in answering this one question. How are you living the dream? I truly believe that each one of us came to earth to live the dream, and what happens when we get here is that we cloud it over with all sorts of responsibilities and time restraints and scarcity mindset and barriers and insecurities and fears of all kinds. And I feel that that dream is just wanting to be nurtured and sprouted and supported along the dream journey. And so I'm bringing these beautiful people together to ask them this question. I have brought together all sorts of spiritually based individuals, Reiki masters and shamans and intuitive healers of all kinds, so that we can go to that place of true change and that spiritual foundation. Today, I get the pleasure of introducing you to Tammy De Mirza. She's coming from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
The moment that I was introduced to you, I felt it. You put me at ease. You definitely are tuned in something very, very grand, and you have found your life calling and you're doing it. And so this is why I wanted to interview you. So I want to tell the audience a little bit about you. You are a professional intuitive, a medium, a guide, teacher, mentor, speaker, and energy conduit. And your passion, as you've helped thousands of people, thousands, connect to God, source, that divinity within themselves. People get lost and all over the place, but you are someone who helps people get straight back into that alignment. I want you to begin by just sharing your story, just who you are. How did you become who you are and find that dream that you're living now?
What happened for me was I was raised in an environment that was very difficult. And I have learned that the leaders sometimes come into the most challenging sets of circumstances to overcome in order to be that leader. We have to go through the fire. We have to pay the price. We have to go through it in order to really give away. I constantly say you cannot give away what you do not have. So in saying that, at the age of 11, my grandmother had a pastor from a Southern Baptist church visit me and my sister and my mother, and I got quote unquote saved. And my life changed. And that's when the really overt, very personal communication started happening with God. And I remember laying in my bed and going, there's no way that I, at 11 years old, would know this. And I started doing spontaneous readings for people. And then I figured out by the time that I was 20 that I was freaking people out and that I was an anomaly and I was very different. And I got very mad at God and said, that's it. You made me a freak and I don't like who I am and I don't fit in. And I get very strong responses from people. And why do you tell me that this is going on in their lives if they're not ready to deal with it? And then I started going through spontaneous miracles and healings because I was actually asking God, why am I reading about Elijah and Elijah? And why do we not see healers today? And he said, well, just pray and ask. And I did. And Emily, people were getting healed of cancer. People were not committing suicide. God was sending total strangers to my door saying, we're going to send you somebody tomorrow. Is it okay? Do we have permission? She's suicidal. And I would always say yes. And then I went through this period of time that my marriage was in trouble and I really needed to take care of myself. And I didn't know how. I was codependent. I was in trouble. I was the most insecure person you could probably ever meet. And I did not know who I was, but that started a very, very personal journey with God where he really started showing me the truths and what we're taught versus what he teaches and what he wanted us to know. So then my work really changed with people. And instead of doing the healings, and I mean, I was having animals come back to life because I prayed over them, dogs and monkeys and turtles. And I thought, oh no, you're going to make me raise people from the dead with you, God. What are you doing? But I kind of stopped all that and said, just help me to know me. And my work is really just about helping you to know you. I don't disable people. I understand what codependency is. I understand what taking somebody's power away is because I had it done to me so often in my life. So my life's work, my passion, my purpose is to introduce you to you, to let you know what the inner thoughts are, what the difference is between the subconscious mind, what belief systems we have that are really dominating the energy and what we manifest, and we don't even know we're doing it. And I identify those things, and I see the behavior, I see the predicaments, I see what trials and tribulations and dilemmas and repetitive patterns they've developed in their lives. And I just gently expose it and say, this is why you do not have any color in your closet. This is why you do not have any color in your house. You're not living in color. And let me tell you where it started. And then I'll remotely view or go in and be able to see the client at that moment of where that pattern began. And then as I'm telling them, they're crying, Emily, because there's no way for me to know what started this madness in their lives. And we get so caught up in that hamster wheel that we don't realize there's really a way out. And so my work is not what you typically think of as a medium. I say that calling forward people who have transitioned, yes, I do that. But as far as levels of mediumship and talking to masters instead of just the angels and your gods, and they have masters and they have masters and they have masters, being able to sit with a soul and go into you, not in an intrusive way, but communicating with you on a soul and spiritual level where I can say, oh, I know where that began. You want to get free. You came here to talk to me about this today. And so that is really what my work is about. I hope that's a good description for you.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to share with our audience that right before our session, I felt impressed to have a little of a connection with you and me and pray to what could be the most useful for our audience. And so I'm connecting right now, and I want to share with you that I sense that where you can take people, Tammy, is so deep and so expansive. And I want to go right back to the beginning where people are afraid to go that deep and that expansive. Yes. And I'm sure you've talked to so many people who don't really want to talk to you because you're going to make them have to see things. and that's scary. And I have such compassion for that because of my own experiences. So some of the fears that I'm connected to, even just right now from our audience listening to you, is actually connecting with their true self. That's scary. Sometimes that can be scary because what if their true self makes it so that they have to let go of what is right then? They might have to let go of relationships. And Tammy, you're not the most exciting person to talk to in that moment when you're coming and telling them things. So I want to connect with that fear. And can you share what, in compassion, and as we connect to the audience right now, I'm sensing it's really, really a profound one. What would you say to someone who is really struggling and you can see it, but they're not ready? They're not ready to actually embrace the fear and look it in the eyes yet. What would you say at that very beginning step? And the reason why this is relevant is that no matter where we are in the journey of life, I've done so much inner work, and yet I still have to do that one step into the next fear. So this is a very relevant question for everyone in the audience.
What is so profound about this is that when I met Jan, who I'm in her house right now, and she was telling me, I want a reading from you. I know that I need a reading from you, but I'm scared. And I said, then, honey, the biggest gift that I can give you is to know how much God loves you. The very hairs on your head are counted, and you lose about 100 a day. You are so watched. You are so noticed. You are so known. And the way that God does it is so gentle. And I have people, I'll tell you about a client that I have right now who was really struggling with invasion of privacy and feeling vulnerable and not feeling comfortable at work. And she's got all these codependent issues with her mother and this feeling of, I have to be respectful of my mother, but she is mentally ill. And how do I deal with that? Well, the boss and the job is relative to the mother. And so what ended up happening is she called me, and I actually went to her house because I was moving and I needed to go to her house instead of her walking into my chaos. And I sat there and I said, I'm not going to deal with what you think I'm going to deal with today, but God knows that in order for you to start to walk, we have to start you at the place that is the easiest for you to start at. If I make that jump with you to what is going on with your boss, which relates to what goes on with your mother, it's too hard. It's too hard. So we're going to gently tell you that the most important thing that you can do today is just listen to me talk about your focus. What you are looking at expands. It gets larger. It accentuates. You are source energy. You cannot stop that. So because we are connected to source, like being plugged in, whatever it is that we are focusing on gets larger. So whether she realized it or not, the way that you typically, most of you, including the way that I viewed the world, was, well, if I can fix this, or if I can make myself comfortable. We spend more time trying to make ourselves comfortable than ever really dealing with the issue. And if I can gently point that out, it's not that I'm mean or rough or hard, but I am definitely a paradigm breaker. I go in with I break up the paradigm, what you think you're doing, what you think you're seeing, what you think you're thinking about. And very often I tell clients, I say, you did this, and this is not of the highest benefit for you. And they'll go, no, I didn't. And I say, honey, you did it when you were spreading your toast this morning. And you did it as you were driving your kids to school, and your friend called, and this is what you said. So being able to point that out, because most of us are taught, hide it, conceal it, don't feel it. And that's the name of a book that I'm actually going to write, where it exposes what the general pattern is. And what I do is gently go in and say, can we just peruse your garden of life?
What I love, Tammy, is that you consistently are using the word gentle. I'm a big fan of the word gentle, because where you're taking people is not gentle. So
Not easy.
What people deserve is someone who can be a gentle guide and let the work do its work. So one of the things I really appreciate about on your website, you talk about the inner work that you've done around trauma, around abuse. And I want to say thank you for that level of vulnerability, so people can really relate. And it's what we've all experienced at different levels. And that you also express that doing the inner work is intense. You're not you're not getting around that. No one is. And the opposite is that people just stay in patterns. And so I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's the next level of ultimate health. One of the things that the audience wants to hear is, how do I get myself to the next ultimate level of health? And I sense that you are someone that the people can come to, because a lot of the health concerns that people have a root that people maybe are not ready to look at, and then if they're ready to, then things can be released. Do you actually have, this is my question, do you actually have a belief, and I really want you to connect to this, because I'd like to hear what you have to say. There are people who have a lack of belief that it's possible to actually heal from some of the abuse and trauma that they've experienced. It's too deep, Tammy. You can't reach it. That's what people believe. And I've been struggling for it for 20 years, 30 years. There's no way that just going to an intuitive woman can get to the level of depth of where I've been. And it just is, it's overwhelming. It's what my life is now. I have to just accept it. What would you say to someone who has that belief system? And do you actually believe, like as a whole vision, that that true healing can happen no matter what we've been through? It's a big question. So take it wherever you want to go.
I am the epitome of that. I am that. I am. And the way that God guided me, the way that He gently took me step by step by step. What we do most of the time is we hide it because we're afraid. And we have so self-identified with it that we believe that identifies us. And what I do is go, here's your predicament. Here's your pattern. Here's what it is that you are doing. And here's why. And it has nothing at all to do with who you really are. One of the quandaries that I had very early on was that God was letting me see the spiritual person and the capacity and the gifts and the tools that they come in this lifetime with, but they don't even know it themselves. So very often I will say, you have no idea who you are. So the very first thing that I would teach someone is start paying attention to how a conversation with your friend feels. My big thing is getting you to understand that you have an inner guidance. And one of the things that I'm offering is a 5 senses class that was pre-recorded. And I chose one that was a very small group because it's very personal and it's very intense for people to know how the 5 senses, how everything is connected. We are spirit, we are the emotional realm where we think, we are the physical body. And let me tell you how this works. It's fascinating. Everything is about the spiritual, everything. But it's the one thing that we pay the least amount of attention to, because this is not what we're taught. This is not what we're taught to pay attention to. Every single one of us feel we have that inner guidance system. But I don't know very many people on the face of this earth that are teaching what the inner guidance feels like, what it looks like, how to identify it. There's another book. So then I say that the emotional is the next things to follow. Once you do the spiritual work, the emotional gets in alignment. And everything in the emotional, all of a sudden you wake up and you know you're different. You wake up and suddenly, I've had clients who, after one session, would change their hair, lose weight, change their clothing, and then send me a picture, and I go, oh my God, this is you. This is what you really look like. You did it. And I just celebrate. Sometimes people just need one. Sometimes they need it, every 2 or 3 years. Some people need for me to hold their hand once a week. Some people, I don't have programs. I don't say, you have to meet with me 6 times. I'm like, as fast as you want to grow.
And
or as slow as you want to grow.
One of the things I appreciate also that you have on your website is that every session is spontaneous. It's right there in the moment. There's nothing cut and dry about it because you are just open and receiving the guidance for that person and individually. Tell me, one of the things when I do sessions for people, they say that it flows and we're in that space, and then we can connect to all things, and it's an amazing thing. And then I very much encourage that independence so that they can do that on their own. And then I've had people say they struggle with that. Now you're saying that's what your passion is to actually have people connect with God, with source, with energy, that place of identifying that divinity. I feel like you're such a good start for people who don't maybe know how to do that on a consistent basis. That's going to be really, really fantastic for people. And then for people who are ready to go to the next level of intense work, you can guide them through. So everyone can benefit from getting to know who you are. What's something, if someone's not able to connect as freely by themselves and stay in that place, what's something that you share with them? What's an actual tool that you use every day to stay connected to source energy on a daily basis?
Well, let me just tell you that the journey is really, really up and down at first. And it's very varying, and it's dramatically up and dramatically down, and it's very difficult. When you get to the point where you're really seeking, you're really asking those questions, okay, I've got it. I am on a hamster wheel. I don't know how to stop this. I keep dating the same guy. I keep marrying the same guy. I keep having the same friends. I moved to Africa and I still get those friendships. It is when you have somebody take you by the hand along with God. I call myself mainly an intercessor. is that one that bridges the gap, the one that grabs your hand and goes, we will go as far as you wish to go. We will not be disrespectful of you or your journey. And what I was saying earlier is if people can just get to that place of, I'm going to pay attention how I feel today. How do I feel when I have that conversation with that friend? How much space is that friend taking in my life? Am I codependent? Do I not know or understand what boundaries are? Why is it that I am exhausted all the time? That's when really you're out of alignment. And a lot of my work is teaching you, guiding you to what does it feel like when you're out of alignment? What does it feel like when you're in flow? What does it feel like when miracles are happening? Because every single one of us are experiencing all of these spontaneous, miraculous things, and the physical just gets into alignment and shows us the evidence of all things. The physical is not the problem. The physical is a symptom giver of this is what you have going on. Are you going to pay attention? Are you going to look at this? Are you going to pay attention to what is really going on in your life? It like helps to knock us over, shake us, rock our world to say, I am trying to be of service to you. I'm trying to show you that what you're doing isn't working, but we get so used to, but this is who I am. So the work that you're talking about that is so hard is for me to, I'm not going to work with people who are not really interested in getting free. If the pain is so great that you can't tolerate the pain and you cannot make yourself comfortable, and you know that there are things you do not know, then come to us. I don't say, come to me. I say, come to us, which is you and me, and you and you, and you and God, and you and your team. And let me tell you what your team has been trying to do. I remember one time I had this client, I was on the phone with her, so I had not met her in person. And suddenly I see these guides coming in, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And they're crippled. And one is pushing one in a wheelchair, and one has one in a bed with an IV, and they're all walking in front of me, and I'm going, is this some kind of game? Because I'm not really sure. And I said, oh my God, you've been diagnosed with 15 illnesses, and I'm seeing your guides playing this out for me. You have been diagnosed, and I started naming the illnesses. And guess what? She has none of those illnesses anymore. And she is complete and she is whole. It is the inner work. It's the inside job. And every single one of us are so brave to be here, Emily, or we would not be here. So you've already got the bravery. You've already got the stamina.
I want to say one of the most encouraging and most beautiful and impactful things that you're saying is actually just you living as an example. I want to thank you for what you've been through in your life so that you can say these things to the people listening to your voice right now, Tammy. I want to tell you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing someone who actually has lived through, and I don't even know we have not talked about your past, but what it's coming right through that you have been through it, Tammy. And so that you can say these things and you know how to guide people through. And that is godly. That is your passion. That's why you're here. That's why you're connected. And that's why we invited you here, for anyone who is ready to do the work all the way through. I appreciate knowing that you're not interested in working with people who just a little bit. No, it has to be, are you ready? Are you ready to do the work? Because I'm ready to gently walk you through. I want to thank you for that. And also just that specific, that you answered my question beautifully, that yes, you do believe in healing, that you actually believe that the depth of where people have been can be healed. And you're saying there's no magic bullet. You get to do the work, and there are tools, and you are able to assist in that place. Thank you. I feel such a depth for people who can really consider that they might actually have some hope. So I want to
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. I wanted to switch gears for a moment, but please continue.
I want to say this to everyone.
Please.
Every single one of us have been rained on. The reason that we come here is actually to experience the dichotomies of good and bad and evil and holiness and purity and light and fear and love. There are only two ways. There's no real gray. There's either fear or love. And so my work, because God did it with me, he wouldn't give me that teacher, he wouldn't give me that mentor. And because he did it with me, I know the energy. It's a sound, it's a symbol, it's a color, it's a vibration, it's everything. And he just identifies it in a way that is cohesive and easy. And he says, my burdens are light, my yoke is easy. Where you are is hard. And because you don't know how to get out of it, sometimes we really need some help. And guess what? That help connects us to that oneness, to that togetherness, to that usness, to that lack of separation. It's in suffering by yourself and not connecting or asking someone else for assistance that you know. And I would tell you something, go to somebody who's paid the price themselves, because they are that energy, and then they have that compassion and that love to help guide you and help to explain to you, this is what this is going to be like for you, this is what the journey is going to be for you. I understand it. I was the most insecure, abused person you could possibly meet, and I can say with fervor, because I did it, you can do it, and I know it, because I was impossible. I was impossible. And yet God cared enough. And so it is a journey. Stop beating yourself up for not having it yet. Wow. Start in this moment and say, I will take one step. One step is so large. And then we celebrate the step you take. And then as you start to take those steps, you start to want to run further, and just, it's amazing. So don't beat yourself up for where you are not yet. That keeps you in fear. And it keeps you stuck, and you're never going to get out of it as long as that is what you are looking at. But when you start to say, there's got to be more than this, there's got to be a way out of this, I'm tired of hurting, when the pain is bigger than the predicament, that's when I get so excited when people come to me, because I go, you're ready. I've literally turned people away. It's not very often, maybe 2 people in all of the thousands that have come to me and said, you're not ready. Come back to me when you're ready. I'm not going to charge you for what time we have. I know that you're not ready, and you got a wall up, and I'm not going to be disrespectful of where you want to go. It's that, because I've been on the journey myself, I know exactly where it's going to go. Wow. And so, and how open they are. I'm reading them and just loving them in the process and going, it's okay where you are. It's okay. But there's better. There's more. And I'm hungry for that.
Amazing. Thank you. I feel the power of that. I want you to briefly share about your book. It's called The Inmate and the Medium. Tell us a little bit about that, because we're actually at the end of our time. So just mention it, because I want people to at least have it engaged in their thoughts that this book exists, because it's pretty amazing.
The book, The Inmate and the Medium, is a true story. It's a memoir of a period of time in my life where between 2011 and even now, but 2015, where I did a reading for an inmate who had already been spending 24 years in prison. He had a 50-year sentence. And God asked me through a series of events and my Earth School curriculum. We're in class, guys, whether you really want to believe that or not, we're in school. You might as well accept that. And when you understand what the school is, you can embrace every aspect of the school. And I was asked to leave everything that I knew, detach from the world economic system, give everything I had away. I invested with the guy that actually stole every penny I had. I was homeless for 2 years in this process and started to learn alchemy and how to overcome these fears of there's not enough. What if there's not enough? How am I going to pay? How am I going to eat? But I never had to sleep in my car. And it's this journey of meeting people, getting to know people. God saying, will you move? I'll show you where to move. I'll set this up for you. You just let me guide you. And it's that journey of getting Phil out of prison. So it's a story about loss, freedom, love, and really getting into the place of knowing oneself in the process.
Amazing. I want you to connect with our audience and let them know what the free gift is that you're giving.
Okay, I'm going to give away 2 free gifts. I'm going to give away the 5 senses class, where you can actually go and listen to this audio recording. It's pre-recorded, and you can identify, based on what I am explaining, what the top 3 senses are that you most easily communicate. For some people, it's clairvoyance. For some people, it's clairaudience. For some people, it's clairsentience. For some people, it's it's clairscent. It's smelling. And then you can identify, and once you realize, oh, that's really describing me, then you can start to use those 5 senses to understand how you can communicate with the non-physical, with your teams, with your grandmother, with whoever it is you want to communicate, because they're not dead. They can be summoned in, they can be brought in. Believe me, I see people, whether they have transitioned or not, they'll appear right in front of me and show me everything I need to know. And so we are much more unlimited. And believe me, when I'm listening, I need to tell some of you this. I am not gifted. I am not special. I just did the work. And because I did the work, you are as special or gifted, or however you want to perceive me, as I am. Everything that I do, Emily, every single one of you can do. And I want you to know how big you are. I want you to know how much your light is, because you're all beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with you, and there's no sin, and there's no judgment, and there's no hell to pay. The hell is feeling separate from you and feeling separate from God. And that's my work.
Yeah, I say exactly the same thing. My favorite thing in the world is someone who doesn't ever come back to me, because they're connected. They have found their own gifts. I'm happy to do it as long and forever as people desire, until they get with that goal in mind. So I appreciate that perspective so much from you. Tammy De Mirza, you're the real deal. I love getting to know you. I love that you found your passion and that you are living the dream. You're living your purpose, and it's coming radiating through the screen. And I thank you for that. And so people can find you at TammyDemirza.com. We're going to make that really easy for people to do so, to get that free gift that you are giving. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you. And I'm going to read a chapter of the book, so you'll get to see what's coming.
Oh, amazing. So actually having your voice with the book, and it sounds like an amazing adventure that you've been on, that you wrote about.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I appreciate having you, and thank you everyone who is now introduced to Tammy De Mirza from Tennessee. And thank you so much. I want to share with everyone that this is my passion. I have found my passion in eliminating barriers so that you and I can actually truly live that dream, and to do the intense work to get there. And it's absolutely worth it. In my own experience, I am living the dream and eliminating money as a barrier. And so what I'm doing is going into that place of the gift economy and truly trusting the universe, that the universe will take care of me. It's been quite the journey. It's been wild, absolutely wild. And what I get to say is that it's an invitation for anyone who knows that they are the hands, the heart of the universe, who wants to give gratefully to me, then I will receive it, knowing that I will get to continue to do my bliss, my journey, as I support big dreamers on the planet. So that's an invitation for everyone. Thank you for being here, and we will talk to you later. Thank you, Tammy. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Okay.